All right, so what you're going to look at today, we're going to start with the Americas map. Then we're going to move to the Americas chart. I have a chart that's already filled in that you can just look at. When we go over the notes, we'll focus on the map first. All right, focus on the map first. All right. All right, so we're going to look at the American civilizations, the Mayans, Aztecs, and Incans. So the first one that you locate on your map, if you'll see the first circle to your left, okay, the first circle to your left, it says label the map with the following things. So the first circle to your left, it's kind of white, a light circle, light inside of it. Okay, that is your Aztec Empire. Okay, that is the Aztecs. All right. The city that you find in that's right there in there with that dot is going to be Tenochtitlan. Okay, the T word down there. Tenochtitlan is where you find that. So the Aztecs are located like right here in the arid valley in central Mexico. Whenever I look at a map, I always realize that, if you look, Mexico ends sort of like right here, and then you get into some of these other countries like Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico ends here where you will find the Aztecs located. Okay, they're in the arid valley of central Mexico. All right. Chinampas are how they grew their food. If you'll notice, the city of Tenochtitlan is located sort of on a kind of like a swamp. Note how these are like land bridges here, like bridges in which they would grow their food. Okay. Aztecs, the city of Tenochtitlan is the best representation for the Aztecs. Now, this goes in your chart, but like I said, don't worry, I'm going to have a chart for you to fill out. If you look at this one, eventually the Spanish conquistadors will enter this area. Montezuma was the emperor. And when they came here, they looked at it and were like, wow, this is a pretty complex society. But they also knew that in a lot of ways, the people that were in charge, for example, Montezuma, if you ever hear the word Montezuma, usually it's associated with Montezuma's revenge. Montezuma's revenge on, the Europeans, or in a lot of cases, Europeans that are now in America. So when you go to Mexico, you can't drink the water. If you drink the water, your body's not used to the bacteria that's, in that water. So if you drink their water, you're going to get really sick. And usually it's called Montezuma's revenge, where you are on the commode with horrible diarrhea while you're puking in a trash can. Really, really, if you go to Mexico and you're like there vacationing, a really bad way to, I guess what you would say, spend your vacation is sick. But Montezuma was sort of naive when the Spanish conquistadors came there. Remember, they didn't speak the same language, but the Spanish conquistadors showed up. Hernan Cortez, he thought they were gods. So he gave them lots of gold and things like that, but they just kept wanting more. And so that's why the Spanish eventually will defeat the Aztecs. Their economy was based on farming and a polytheistic religion based on warfare. A couple of videos we see today are going to show you human sacrifice. They built pyramids that are very similar to the pyramids, at least in theory. It looks more to me like a ziggurat, but we'll look at the pyramids and stuff like that. How, this is one of the alien theorists' big things. How did they, or why did they build these pyramids, and why did the Egyptians, who were on another continent, who had no contact with them also build pyramids. So we'll look at that a little bit when we watch our videos today. All right, in times of drought, or, well, you know, in the most part, for at least, they were in a dry, arid valley anyway. Priests offered up human sacrifices. This was something that was done here and in the Mayan civilizations, basically because they believed that the rain god and the sun god wanted blood, and therefore they would cut the hearts out of their victims, who were usually, you know, captured during warfare. They would cut their hearts out while it was still beating. They would hold it up, then they would put it in a bowl and burn it. Then they would cut the victim's head off and roll it down the little pyramid thing and put it on a rack. So really crazy. It seems crazy today. That's why when Hernan Cortez and those guys showed up, they were kind of like, well, these people live in an advanced sort of civilization. Not really, because when they walked up the pyramid, and some of the, you know, the temples were, you know, you could smell the putrid smell of, like, you know, blood or corpses, or however you want to look at that. So, all right, the next group we're going to look at are the Mayans. So the Mayans are over to your right a little bit up there at the top. They're in the darker shaded area. That's where you find the Mayans. If you look, this right here, it's located in the Mexican and Central American rainforest. And I'm circling it with my cursor. This is where you find the Mayans, the Yucatan Peninsula. Okay, it's the darker shaded in area. Now the city that you find there is Chichen Itza. Okay, Chichen Itza. And here's another map right here. You see where it's located. Here's the Yucatan. It's in the square. So you see that on your map up at the top. You find the modern day countries of Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, and then all this yellow is still Mexico. Okay. These were the most advanced people during this time period, and they lived in the Americas, in the Yucatan Peninsula. What type of agriculture did they use? They used slash and burn. Here recently, there was all sorts, I think it was in Brazil, South America, all sorts of wildfires. One of the things is people still, the farmers in these regions still use slash and burn agriculture. And it was, you know, I guess a great fear that they were burning down the rainforest, which produced a lot of, you know, oxygen for the planet. So people were like not real happy about that. It really, really was a scary time, I guess you could say. But at the same time, this is something that's been done over, you know, many, many generations. This is how they would do it. They would burn the vegetation, and then, you know, by burning it, it produced a very fertile soil, which they could, you know, grow their crops on. So this is something that's been done for thousands of years. Chichen Itza is the main city. It best represents the Mayan civilization. Now the Mayans, not an empire, so to speak, consisted of a group of city-states ruled by a king. Their economy was based on agriculture. You know, they had the cocoa bean, things like that, that was very valuable, more valuable to Europeans than even money. A polytheistic religion. They built large pyramid-shaped temples in which they also practiced human sacrifice. And then we get to the bottom of your map, okay, and this is the Incans. And if you look at the Incan civilization, notice at the bottom you have South America, and then you have the circle. The circle is the Incan Empire or Incan civilization.
It's where it was.
Do you have a question? The city that you'll find there, the major city, is Machu Picchu. That's that dot. And then the Andes Mountains are the mountains that sort of, I guess what you would say, you find these mountains on the coast, the west coast of South America. Now, the Incans always fascinate me a little bit more because it kind of, when you think about the alien stuff, a lot of the alien theories come from, the idea that why on earth would you live here in the mountains like this? It's got to be a lot more difficult to live like in the mountains than it is to live like in the plains or in areas where you have a lot of vegetation. The Incans were very, very, I don't guess complex is the word, but they had complex sort of systems, and we'll look at a couple as we go along here. So to produce food, they used terrace farming. If you look at these pictures, it's really good at showing you what terrace farming might look like. The green area would be where you would grow crops, and you would have to create these terraces to catch rain. If you didn't have a terrace, the rain would just simply go to the bottom of the mountain. So you had to carve out these terraces, these, sort of almost looks like steps in a lot of ways. You had to carve those out, and basically, the rain would settle on those and you would grow food. And there you see one of the roads. We'll talk about the roads here in a minute because the Incans were really known for their roads. And here you have an old Incan bridge that you walk across. I can tell you right now, I'm not walking across that bridge. Apparently, if you can kind of tell, it's not a, it doesn't look like a good sturdy bridge at all. Incan civilization ruled by an emperor. Economy was based on high altitude agriculture. They were also polytheistic. They built roads, a system of roads and mail for the armies. Much like, the Romans and people like that, very extensive road system. Now, there is some theories about did they really build it, who built it. But yeah, it was located in their area during their time. They kept records by quipu, a series of knots and parallel strings. We'll look at a little video on that. But this is an elaborate system. How on earth do you look at that right there and go, well, this is kind of a form of language or record keeping or whatever, because that's just crazy to me. Okay, I don't understand it. I can't help you under. I mean, all you got to know is this is how they kept records is through this quipu. The achievements of all three, you had calendars, a calendar system. The Mayan calendar is the one that really sticks out the most. With, when you think about, there was a movie made called 2012. This is when the Mayan calendar ends. And it basically was, a lot of people believe because the Mayan calendar ended on 2012, that the world would end then. So it didn't happen, thank goodness. And I guess currently, if you even think about 2012, many of you weren't even born then. So mathematics, you had intricate mathematics for all three and a writing system. That's one I kind of question, because the writing system for the Incans, the quipu, was really not writing. But anyway, that's what you'll see on any kind of test there. And there you see the Mayan calendar. Now, when it comes to your map, and you are responsible for knowing what's on the map, All right. The best way to remember where these are located on this larger map here is Amy. All right. So first you have at the top right there, A, the Aztecs. Okay. Then right below there, or a little bit to your east, you have the Mayans on the Yucatan Peninsula. Okay. And then you have the Incans. So Amy, A at the top, then M, and then Amy. Okay, that's the best way to remember this. You see it on the test. The Aztecs at the top, Mayans, then the Incans. All right, I'm going to throw this chart up here. And we'll just start over on the left-hand side. All right, so it says the Mayans location, Central America, Yucatan Peninsula. Environment, a rainforest. Major city or religious center for the Mayans is Chichen Itza. Type of government. Now you have your chart. You should be filling this in as we go. Collection of independent city-states, each ruled by a king. I'm going to move up just a little bit. All right, so we talked about why they use slash and burn farming, to burn the vegetation and then produce that fertile soil. Polytheistic religion, all three are polytheistic religions as far as the Aztecs, Mayans, and Incas. All right, and you're still on the Mayans over here. Their economy was based on agriculture and trade. Agriculture and trade. And then some miscellaneous things, we talked a little bit about the Mayan calendar, a writing system. It was more like their writing system was pictographic or pictographs, more like I guess what you would consider like hieroglyphics when we talked about the Egyptians, and a number system. All right, now we're going to move over to the Aztecs. All right, Aztecs are located in central Mexico. They have more of I guess, a desert type terrain. The main city is Tenochtitlan. The type of government they have is an empire, and their agricultural, I guess, means of agriculture are the chinapas that we looked at. All right, their religion, polytheistic. Economy based on agriculture, which all three are really based on agriculture. And then miscellaneous. They also, created a calendar, and they were also known for lots and lots of human sacrifices to the gods. All right, so let's look at the Incans. We'll go back up here. And the Incans, South America, Andes Mountains are their location. High altitude farming, high altitude living in the Andes Mountains, like I said, probably a little bit tough. That's where they were at. The city that represents them would be Machu Picchu. Their government was an empire. Type of agriculture that you see is terrace farming. Remember the picture, they had to use the terraces to catch the water so it didn't roll down the mountain. Polytheistic religion. All right, what type of what was the economy based on? High altitude agriculture. And they had roads and bridges and could deliver mail, and the military moved very quickly on these roads, just like you see with the Romans. All right. Oops, I did not mean to do